February 21st, 2025, in Dubai. A morning that seemed completely normal suddenly turned into a nightmare for millions of people. In just a few short minutes, more than $1.5 billion vanished from ByBit. Not because of a system crash, not because of a technical failure, but beginning with a single human click. Imagine you're sitting in front of your screen, like any other day, handling familiar transactions. Everything looks completely valid. No unusual signs, no warnings, no instinct strong enough to make you stop. And then you click approve. Just a small action. But in that very moment, tens of thousands of Ethereum begin to move, flowing through hundreds of wallets, dissolving into the digital space as if they had never existed. No one screams. No alarm goes off immediately, just a terrifying silence when everything is already too late. What really happened behind that screen? Who was controlling everything? And if any of us were in that situation, will we truly have done anything differently? ByBit is one of the world's leading cryptocurrency exchanges. Founded in 2018 and rapidly growing into a global digital asset trading platform serving tens of millions of users worldwide. Beyond its massive trading volume and high-speed order execution, ByBit is widely recognized as one of the most security-focused platforms in the crypto industry. The company has built its entire operational infrastructure around a security-first philosophy, investing heavily in cybersecurity technology, risk management systems, and elite international security teams. The majority of customer assets are stored in cold wallets, completely isolated from the internet, significantly reducing the risk of remote cyber attacks, while large value transactions must pass through strict multi-signature approval processes involving multiple independent authorizations before execution. In addition, ByBit implements multiple layers of account protection, including two-factor authentication, real-time abnormal activity monitoring, internal data encryption, and automated risk alert systems. Behind the platform stands a team of thousands of professionals, including software engineers, cybersecurity specialists, risk management experts, and financial infrastructure professionals from leading global technology and finance companies. This combination of advanced technology, rigorous internal controls, and highly skilled personnel has helped ByBit establish a reputation as one of the safest and most trusted cryptocurrency exchanges in the global market, becoming the platform of choice for millions of investors to store and trade digital assets every day. Now place yourself in the position of the employee sitting in front of that screen that day. A quiet room, cold white light reflecting on the desk. In front of you is the familiar system of ByBit that you have logged into hundreds of times before, every action almost becoming reflex. On the screen, a transaction approval request appears, nothing unusual. The wallet address clearly displayed, familiar format. Every number, every character exactly like what you have seen for months. You scan through the information, the amount of Ethereum is large, but not unfamiliar, because your job is to handle transactions worth tens of thousands of ETH like this. The clock in the corner of the screen keeps ticking, other notifications keep appearing. Your work does not allow you to hesitate too long, because behind you is an entire system running, colleagues, deadlines, the responsibility to keep everything smooth. In that moment, you do not think you're making a dangerous decision. You're simply following the process, fulfilling your role, just like every other day. The cursor moves slowly toward the approve button, a small action, almost unconscious because you trust the system, trust the layers of security that have been built, and more importantly, you believe you're doing the right thing. There's no sense of fear, no clear doubt, just the normal focus of someone completing their task. But deep in your subconscious, there may have been a brief moment, a flicker of hesitation, like when you read a line of information for the second time. But then time pressure, habit, and trust in the process quickly override it all. You click approve. No warning sound appears. Nothing unusual happens immediately. Everything still looks completely stable. You move on to the next task, not knowing that in that very moment, an irreversible chain of events has begun, and that seemingly small decision is silently growing into a storm no one can stop in time. To understand why that single click could lead to such massive consequences, we need to look at the scale and the way ByBit built its trust over many years. This is not just an exchange. It is a place where tens of millions of people entrust their assets, their hopes, and their financial future. From professional investors to those entering the crypto world for the first time, everyone believes the system is strong enough to protect them from any risk. Modern offices, teams of engineers working day and night, strict control processes, all create a sense of near absolute safety. It is not by chance that ByBit is considered one of the most trusted platforms, because behind every transaction are layers of security stacked like steel doors, seemingly impossible to break from the outside. Their system is designed to eliminate almost all possible errors. Large assets are not kept directly online, but stored in cold wallets, completely separated from the internet, like gold locked deep underground. Whenever a large amount needs to be moved, no one could do it alone. It must go through multiple layers of approval, where at least 3 high-level officials must confirm. Each signature is not just a technical step, but a commitment that the transaction has been carefully checked. Even if one account is compromised, other layers still exist, like a fortress built to resist any external attack. Those working within that system believe they are standing inside something nearly perfect, where every risk has already been calculated. That belief is the most dangerous part. When you work in an environment where everything runs smoothly, you begin to trust the process more than you question it. Transaction approvals become routine, checks become reflex, and vigilance slowly erodes over time. No one thinks they're facing a real threat, because if there were one, the system would have warned them. That is how humans adapt to safety, and also how they become most vulnerable. So when looking at this entire structure, the question is not whether the system is strong enough, but whether the people inside it can maintain absolute vigilance at every moment. A system can be perfect on paper, but it is still operated by humans with emotions, habits, fatigue, and moments of carelessness. And it is exactly at that intersection between technology and human behavior that something thought impossible to hack begins to show its first cracks, small, almost invisible, but enough for a carefully prepared plan to slip inside unnoticed. What makes this story truly frightening is not complex technology, but the patience with which attackers approach people. Before any funds moved, everything began with tiny details that no one paid attention to. Emails appeared in internal inboxes, written in familiar tones, using the correct forms of address, the exact formatting employees of ByBit saw every day. No spelling mistakes, no sloppiness. Everything looked like it came from a real colleague, from a department they had worked with before. These were not loud attacks, but gentle greetings, small requests, sometimes just asking to confirm a document or check a system update. And it was precisely this normality that gave the receiver no reason to doubt. Day by day, these small interactions built a sense of familiarity. The recipient began to believe the person on the other side was real, a colleague working in the same workflow. Sometimes it was a soft reminder of a deadline, sometimes a link leading to an interface identical to the internal system. And then, in a very natural moment, they logged in, entered their credentials without feeling anything was wrong. No warnings appeared, no clear signs to stop. That is the essence of social engineering, not forcing, not breaking, but guiding people step by step into a trap they do not realize. The attackers were not in a hurry. They understood that trust cannot be stolen in a day. It must be built gradually. They observed how employees communicated, how they responded to emails, how they handled tasks. They learned to mimic writing styles, communication rhythms, even small details like the timing of emails to make everything feel natural. For the recipient, it was just daily work, but for the attackers, every response was a piece bringing them closer to their goal. There were moments when an employee might have felt a slight doubt, but familiarity quickly erased it. When you receive an email that looks exactly like hundreds before, when everything matches your expectations, your brain chooses trust to save time and energy. That is human instinct and also the greatest weakness. The attackers did not need to outsmart the system. They only needed to understand humans deeply enough. Step by step, they collected credentials, accessed critical accounts, and opened doors that should have remained closed. No noise, no signs of intrusion. Everything happened quietly like water seeping through the smallest cracks. By the time someone noticed something wrong, the system was no longer intact. The layers of security were still there, but they had been bypassed in a way no one expected, not by force, but by patience and psychological manipulation at a very high level. And what makes this story disturbingly relatable is that none of the people involved believed they were making a mistake. They were simply doing their jobs, responding to reasonable requests, trusting what they saw. No one intentionally opened the door for attackers, but those ordinary actions, repeated every day, became the path for a carefully planned operation to move into the heart of the system. To understand why that approval could trigger an irreversible chain of events, we need to look deeper into how the system was designed to protect assets. At ByBit, large funds are never kept online, but stored in cold wallets completely disconnected from the internet, like safes placed somewhere unreachable remotely. Whenever assets need to be moved, the process is not just technical, but a strict control ritual. A large transaction must pass through multiple approvals, usually 3 signatures from top-level authorities. Each person holds part of the power, and only when all agree can funds move. In theory, this structure is nearly unbreakable, because even if one person makes a mistake, others can detect and stop it. But that certainty creates a deep sense of safety, making people rely on it more than questioning it. Every day, those responsible for approvals repeat the same process. Look at the same interface, check familiar data. Numbers, wallet addresses, confirmation steps become habit, like locking your door every night without thinking. The system removes errors, but it cannot remove fatigue, distraction, or invisible pressure humans face. When a transfer request appears, it moves through layers as designed. The first person checks, sees everything valid, passes it on. The second does the same, trusting the previous step. The final person confirms, influenced by trust, that everything before was correct. That is how the process works, each link relying on another. No one wants to slow things down. No one wants to doubt when everything looks perfect. Technology and humans intertwine. Code ensures precision, but the final decision is still a click. And that click is not just personal, but the result of accumulated trust, habit, and pressure. When everything follows a familiar pattern, people assume it will be the same again. They do not realize the most familiar moment can also be the most dangerous. So the weakness is not lack of security, but reliance on human perfection. A system may require multiple signatures, layers of verification, but if all are done in blind trust without pause, one small deviation is enough to break everything. And in that perfect coordination, attackers found their opportunity, not by breaking defenses, but by making each layer open from within. The most sophisticated step was not intrusion, but creating a perfect fake version of what employees trusted daily. The interface was replicated exactly from layout to details. When employees accessed it, nothing felt wrong. They entered credentials naturally, as habit. No warnings, no suspicion. The attackers relied on human perception, memory, and repetition. And when all matched expectations, the brain accepted it as real. After credentials were entered, control shifted silently. Employees continued working, unaware their actions were being watched or manipulated. The interface still showed expected data, but reality had changed. Addresses could be altered, but hidden behind familiarity. Maybe a few seconds of checking could have changed everything. But in continuous workflow, stopping to doubt feels unnatural, and that normality was exploited completely. The fake interface did not just fool the eyes, but the sense of safety, making people believe they were in control when they were not. February 21st continued like any other day. A transaction of 30,000 ETH appeared. The first employee approved, then the second, both trusting the process. Everything flowed perfectly too perfectly to question. Then came the final decision. One person, one device, one last chance to verify. If the address had been checked carefully, things might have been different. But that moment passed. The final approval was given. Moments later, 41,000 ETH began to move, split into hundreds, thousands of transactions scattered across wallets, dissolving into the network. Inside the system, confusion turned into disbelief, then realization. Outside, users still saw normal balances, unaware their value was slipping away elsewhere. By the time action was taken, it was too late. The funds were too dispersed, too far. What remained was not just loss, but helplessness. Within 48 hours, the name emerged, Lazarus Group. Not just hackers, but part of something larger, where finance and geopolitics intersect. News spread, users panicked, withdrawals surged. ByBit responded, trying to stabilize, maintain trust under pressure.
I want to guarantee that ByBit is one-to-one packed, meaning that we do a monthly proof of reserve, audited proof of reserve, meaning that all of the money is in the wallet, meaning that if even today, all of the ByBit client withdraw, we can give your withdrawals. With regard to the act amount, which is around 400,000 ETH, even the ByBit treasury, we can cover that.
And in the end, what remained was a harsh truth. Systems can be strong, but humans are the most fragile link. Nothing was broken, no code cracked, only trust slowly guided away. And the most frightening part is realizing we may never know the exact moment we were already. When the investigation began, blockchain forensic experts quickly traced the suspicious flow of funds. Within just 48 hours, one name emerged in nearly every investigative report. Lazarus Group, a notorious hacking organization accused by multiple governments and intelligence agencies of having ties to the North Korean state. Lazarus is not an ordinary cybercriminal group. Over the years, its name has been linked to some of the largest cyber attacks in the world, from the 2014 hack of Sony Pictures to massive attacks on banks, financial institutions, and cryptocurrency platforms worth billions of dollars. According to numerous international investigative agencies, Lazarus is believed to operate as an organized cyber warfare unit, using financial attacks to advance the strategic and economic interests of the state behind it. That is why when traces of Lazarus appeared in the ByBit case, this was no longer simply a cryptocurrency theft. It became an event where cybersecurity, global finance, and geopolitics collided. The news spread at astonishing speed. Users panicked and rushed to withdraw funds. Social media exploded with questions over whether ByBit could survive such a devastating blow. The company immediately activated emergency protocols, froze related systems, coordinated with blockchain, forensic specialists, and international investigators to trace the stolen assets, and worked to reassure users that the platform remained liquid and operational. But after everything, what remained was not only the staggering scale of the financial loss. What remained was a cold and unsettling truth. Even the strongest systems in the world can collapse if the humans inside them are manipulated in the right way. No firewall was shattered. No algorithm was broken. No line of code was hacked in the way Hollywood often portrays. The only thing truly defeated was human trust. And perhaps the most frightening part of this entire story is this. If any of us had been placed in that exact position, in front of that same screen, under that same pressure, surrounded by that same familiarity, there's a very real chance that we, too, would have clicked approve.